There he is, Mr.
Hi,
Craig.
Craig. What'd you get for Christmas, Craig?
We didn't get him anything. He's an employee. He got a thank you note.
He got a what was it? A Cheese of the Month Club
Yeah,
membership.
yeah. Oh, a jelly of the month. That was it. He was definitely expecting that huge Christmas bonus so that he could put a pool in his backyard, but he got a jelly of the month club instead.
What you gonna do about it, Craig?
Well, if we've seen that movie, he ends up taking us hostage. Or actually, I think it's his cousin who does. But...
Well, he doesn't have a cousin yet. No one's given us his cousin.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Aha.
Nobody has. We know who his brother is, but no guests have
Yeah.
actually given us a cousin yet.
So I guess Merry post Christmas, everybody.
Yeah,
Happy
it's over
holidays
with.
to everybody else, and
Yep,
soon to be New Year.
yep. Coming up this Sunday, I think is New Year's Eve, or maybe New Year's Day. I don't know. Either way,
Mm,
I got a party to go to this weekend for New Year's.
You don't have a party that you're going to.
Yeah, I do.
You're not going to a party.
No, I
You're not
probably
leaving your basement, you troll.
I leave the basement at minimum once a week.
Just stay in your hole.
Yeah, yep. Just stay in your hole like a hobbit.
So,
Yeah.
what D&D gifts did you get this year for Christmas?
So, I got a handful of gifts. I usually only get a few things, but I got BattleTech, the newest edition. Uh, I don't. It's not a role playing game, but it's tabletop miniatures. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not.
I know what a Mad Cat is.
Okay, so you at least, yeah, if you've ever played Mech Warrior or know what the Mech Warrior is, you know what BattleTech is. You're giant robots on a field shooting each other to death, and it's fantastic.
Hmm.
As far as D&D stuff, I got the Game Master's Book of Random Encounters by Jeff Ashworth, which I did not have.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that makes 3 of his books that I've got. I think, yeah, I still need the one about dragons, but
Still working on getting him on, right?
hey, that's on you. You're the one who has control of those accounts. You have to message him.
What? Ugh. Anyways,
Yeah. But yeah, I'll talk more about that book next week when I've actually had a chance to go through it. I've currently been going through the Pathfinder 2.0 book, of which we will discuss later on this
later.
podcast. Yeah, on this
Oh,
podcast. I've had time to go through it pretty sufficiently.
okay.
I just figured we'd talk about the WotC announcements and what Christmas stuff you got.
What Christmas stuff I got? Well, first off, I got a sculpture of a gelatinous cube.
Okay,
You know,
that's pretty
uh,
sweet.
it's pretty sweet, yeah. So I got to clean up my room and um, get all that sorted through correctly, and
Mhm.
get some nice get a space for my Tiamat, get a space for my ancient white dragon, and get a space for my gelatinous cube, who is actually like bigger than the Tiamat, oddly enough.
Wow. Yeah.
This if you were to scale this cube as an actual mini, like the gazer that's inside of it would be a beholder size, and there's like a human being that digested inside of it as well too.
So is
So
it
if you
like
just
is it like 1/6 or 1/8 essentially? Like it's like a
yeah.
small dog size.
Yeah, the thing is huge. So like I said, if you scale a gazer up to a beholder, that's he's stuck inside of it. And then like so, if you pretend that the gazer is a beholder, and you pretend that the human fighter that's stuck in there is actually a giant, this cube is bigger than the Tiamat, so it's like a gargantuan gelatinous cube, and it could engulf Tiamat. It wouldn't win. It still have 10 hit points.
Well,
Um,
oh, I mean, that's debatable. You know, sure, it's a gelatinous cube, but what happened? You know, you got the Tiamat mini, and the first thing you did was run a one shot where all your players fought Tiamat. So now you have to run a one shot where they fight this. You know, this is the god version of a gelatinous cube.
this is the king slime of gelatinous cubes.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, I got that. I didn't get too much more D&D related stuff. I got a bunch of miniatures, but some of them are still shipping.
Okay.
Um, and my wife also got me exotic. Looking at them now, exotic game snack sticks, coming in both original mythical monster and original humanoid flavors.
Okay. Is there a link to this?
I don't have a link to this. I have no idea where she found this.
Okay.
So let me read through some of the beautiful flavors they have in the back. So going through the mythical monsters first. All right, we have basilisk, chimera, chupacabra, dragon, griffin, kraken, Loch Ness monster, Pegasus, phoenix, and unicorn.
All right.
For the humanoids, we have Bigfoot, centaur, elf, gremlin, leprechaun, mermaid, minotaur, troll, werewolf, and yeti. And
Okay.
now, my wife and I have already eaten the mermaid, and it was delicious.
Okay. So what kind of snack is it?
Beef sticks,
Oh, okay. They're beef sticks. Okay.
yeah.
So
So
are they flavored like mermaid? So
yes, so
it's like a fish beef stick.
the mermaid was a Hawaiian teriyaki pork. Uh,
Okay.
the elf is a sweet pepper turkey.
All right.
The yeti is an andouille yak and beef smoked.
Wow, they got yak in there. That's impressive.
The werewolf is venison teriyaki and beef.
It's not wolf.
Um,
That's a shame.
going to some of the monsters. Hi, Blaze. I love you. Hold on. We have dragon, which is alligator, Cajun, and beef. The phoenix is sweet pepper turkey. The kraken is duck maple and beef. The
That's okay,
basilisk is
hold on. No, the kraken. Now that should have been like octopus or something.
yeah. Um, the the griffin is just beef and ostrich. Chupacabra is a chorizo.
Okay, that's very fitting actually.
It's great. It's so um she always seems to get me the beef sticks and then like eats most of them.
Yeah, well, eh, yeah, it is
I
what it.
asked her if they had a cryptid version for like cryptids,
Yeah,
and she said that she did. She looked it up and she couldn't find it at that time, but she swears that there is a cryptid version out there too.
I mean, you already have some of the cryptids in the one you got.
Yeah, I mean Chupacabra, but like
Yeah.
getting like Mothman and like
Oh, dude,
uh
that would be cool.
uh whatever the Babadook,
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
him in there.
Babadook.
I mean, they have that whole card game now. What is it, MetaZoo?
I haven't seen this.
MetaZoo is it's kind of like it's like Magic the Gathering. It's a collective card game, but it's all cryptids. Okay, so the first edition, was all cryptids in the United States, and then they did like space cryptids, and they went out and
These
branched out to like,
cryptids. Okay.
and then they went out and branched out to like underwater cryptids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the gameplay is very similar to Magic, except like you have an environment as well too. So like the Pokemon game more. Actually, it
Mhm.
probably plays more like Pokemon than Magic.
Okay.
Um, but uh, it's fairly popular. It's actually it got so popular, it's getting a full retail market release next year.
What was it called? MetaZoo?
MetaZoo.
MetaZoo. Okay. Yeah.
Yep. So it's fairly fun. The art is fantastic, and um, it's really cool.
That's pretty sweet. I've never heard of it, but that's something I'd be interested in. That's kind of cool. I would definitely want to build a deck around Mothman. I saw this great Christmas Mothman meme the other day, and it's a picture of Santa flying over, and he's got Rudolph in the lead, and then you just hear somebody yelling from the ground, "No, Mothman, no!" And then you see Mothman coming up to attack Rudolph.
uh, so yeah, Christmas was great for me, and um, we sent dice out to all of my players, and I got dice for some other people as well too, and a lot of dice gifts this year. It felt like.
Sure.
Yeah.
I asked Santa for dice, but I unfortunately didn't get any. But honestly, it's
You
not
don't
like
need more dice.
I really don't. I you say that like I somehow have more dice than you, which I seriously doubt. Uh,
Oh, maybe.
but that being said, I really don't need more dice. I mean, once you've got like 4 complete sets, that's really all you actually need as a DM.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I still use the same DM set I got in fourth edition.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still using some. I still have some of the dice that I started with. Not originally, but I've had some of the same dice for over 20 years at this point.
Did it? Did I tell you that I bought a unique dice set just for Tiamat?
I don't think you did. You definitely haven't talked about it on the podcast. So,
Uh, so when I got Tiamat, I didn't have any of my stuff with me
mhm.
to run the game. Well, I had all my stuff with me to run a game. But I didn't have stuff with me to run a Tiamat. I didn't have my DM dice. So I walked over to Synergy and used code for Grumpy, got 5% off, and bought a set of rainbow colored dice for Tiamat.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it worked out well. Uh, but yeah, it was a good thing. I got to get into miniature painting again. Got a bunch of miniatures, some from my players of like our Owl campaign figures and the campaign that DM Mike ran. I got those figures as well too. They're fantastic looking. So I actually got to like get into painting again and take a stab at painting those
Yeah.
because
Some
on
people some people really love it. I know our buddy Jonathan Sturrock. He loves it.
oh
But
yeah, I mean, and it's just there's just so many, and like most people that I know that paint miniatures are like full with commissions,
yeah,
and it's pretty crazy.
yeah. Whereas
So
me,
I gotta
like Warhammer. I loved putting the minis together. Hated painting them. So
yeah,
I've just sort of determined that that's not my thing.
yeah. That's why I buy all the pre-painted miniatures because the sets just work good.
Yeah, yeah. I
Work
get
good.
that. I get that. I don't think. I mean, I guess you can get pre-painted Warhammer miniatures, but that's because somebody else painted them.
Yeah, but then
They
they
don't.
don't fight as good.
Well, yeah. Well, unless they're orcs and they're red, then they're fine.
They're just fast.
Yeah, or if they're blood angels, but they're a different color besides red.
So, speaking of cryptids, uh, I didn't link this on Grubby Dungeon Master because honestly, this kind of scares the hell out of some people, and it could be
Clowns?
triggering for some. Uh, have you heard of the newest cryptid that's been created?
But I'm about to Google whatever it is.
All
It
right.
better not have anything to do with blue waffles though.
Yeah, nothing about waffles. I'll just send you the link and
Oh, okay. I
I'll
don't
put it
have
in our
to.
general chat in our Discord. Um,
Which everybody should join.
yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
it is Loab. Okay,
Oh yeah, okay.
Loab is a woman who is haunting the internet now. Essentially, whenever AI art's becoming this big huge thing and a big huge problem because
Yeah.
licensed artists are losing some of their work because these AI generated programs are taking their works and then basically compiling them into the algorithm that they're using to create art. Okay. But when you run, I guess, an AI art program at a maximum to draw a woman, eventually the AI draws the same woman,
Huh.
no matter what the AI is or what you're trying to specify.
And
And if you go through the
creep.
article,
That's a creepy looking woman, and there's a link. There's like a couple of links on here, and I am not actually going to click them because I don't want Loab on my I don't want her having access to my computer.
right? So like
Yeah,
it
no, that's horrifying.
So yeah, like no matter what happens, and it's just so weird. Like I mean, I guess from the algorithm standpoint, like this is just a mathematical end course, but the same woman is showing up as this mathematical end point for AI generated woman, and she honestly looks like she's about to crawl through your monitor and strangle you to death,
Huh.
and it
Or
always looks like she's sobbing too.
I give it 2 years until this horror movie is released because
Yeah,
like some studio has probably already got the rights to make a Loab movie. It's
Yeah,
almost certainly out there. There's somebody who's working on this.
yeah, and like it even goes a step further. Like if you have it do dolls and stuff like that, Loeb shows up in the dolls. It's it is just the creepiest thing.
I
And
wonder,
it's a
yeah.
great monster, especially if you're like doing cyberpunk or something like that. Some kind of like, you know,
Oh yeah,
if
yeah.
you have technology in your game, Loab's just this monster that just follows you around through your computers.
Yeah, I wouldn't even do it as cyberpunk. Like you need a modern setting for this, just current day, and that is the end bad guy, and in the end nobody lives
Okay.
As Loab takes over the internet and destroys the world.
Well, here's the best part because it goes one step further. Someone went into an AI generator that does voices and asked it to basically speak as the woman for the photos. Okay. And that's where the name came from. It named itself.
Okay.
All right. And then basically, they have snippets of the conversation that they had with this AI generated text to speech for these paintings. And they were all self aware and it's creepily and horrible. Like they ask her, like, why are you sad? She's like, I don't know why I'm sad. I'm just crying for everybody.
Oh, that's not creepy at all.
She's a contrast, but she told us that she is the AI text speech said that Loab is the contrast between the ideal of a mother and the reality of a mother. In reality, mothers are often have to deal with sick and injured children as well as the death of children, and I am she. Yeah,
Yeah, that's I love it. Like it's horrifying in all the right ways. Uh, there will definitely be horror movies of it. Somebody's gonna run a horror tabletop with that. Probably won't be me because I don't tend to run stuff like that. But that's fantastic
yeah, it really is, and
and horrifying
oh,
for realsies. Horrifying. Uh, Honestly, just AI art in general is kind of horrifying. A lot of it just seems to be colorful versions of H.R. Giger work.
yeah. Yeah, and like a lot of people are using it too to create fantasy settings for the characters and stuff like that, and
Oh yeah.
that's great. Except when Loeb shows up in your fantasy game, and now all of a sudden you're fighting her.
Yep. So when D&D Beyond becomes D&D 1, and then they create the metaverse, and everybody's going to be jacked into this thing with virtual reality playing D&D, and then Loab is going to show up and everybody's going to be stuck in that reality, just like those crazy animes where people get stuck in the video games.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what's going to happen to society.
Yep.
Thanks, Dungeons and Dragons. Thanks.
uh,
So, since I bring up the topic of that, I know WotC made some announcements on the rules for their God, what do they call it?
OGL.
The OGL. Thank you. And
So yeah.
you know more about this than I do. I have only read that tiny little blurb about it.
So I guess it was an official D&D employee on D&D Beyond put up a question that basically stated, would you purchase and contribute to one D&D if they remove the OGL? And for those who don't know, the OGL is the Open Gaming License. Basically, you are allowed to use the system that is D&D to make your own versions of games. However, the characters and the terminology that D&D owns, you can't use. So that's why people can create 5e supplements. Ouroboros, for example, uses the 5th edition system, where they have their own heroes and classes and well, not really classes, but they have subclasses and names and characters and arts and world. Like they don't have Dritz and Ouroboros.
Right, right.
Um, and like Sky Raiders of Abraxia. from the Dragonlance writers. Like that's coming out. That's a fifth edition game.
Yeah, this is the book
Lord
I
of the
got.
Rings is coming out with a role playing game in February.
Oh,
That's
another one?
based on no, it's a 5e one.
Yeah, I know. There have been several versions of it. This is
Uh,
the newest one. So,
this is the one authorized by the Tolkien estate.
yeah, there have been several of them by the author
Yeah,
authorized by the Tolkien estate. This is just the first one for 5e.
right. So like you can use the 5e system to make your game. So when I homebrew a game and I get around to actually creating that in 45 years, I will use fifth edition. Assuming it's still around. And because of the OGL, I can use that and publish my system. I just can't use Mind Flayers
Yeah.
or Tiamat. Well, I probably could use Tiamat, but
Yeah, yeah, you could almost certainly use Tiamat.
you
You
can't use Beholders, Mind Flayers, things that are very specific to
Displacer
D&D.
Beast,
Yeah,
Gelatinous cubes. There's a restricted list that only
right.
D&D can use.
So, I guess they were trying to gauge, what the players was thinking about if they got rid of the OGL for sixth edition for one D&D,
Sure.
and it blew up. So much so that it blew up very negatively, in fact, that Watsy, in the D&D Beyond staff, had to make a post on D&D Beyond stating that
Yeah. Now hold
OG
on. I'm interrupting you on purpose right here. So I'm going to throw in my initial thoughts and realize I have only read a tiny blurb about this. So from what I read, they weren't making a lot of massive changes, and this is their words saying they are not making a lot of changes to the OGL. Uh, Writing books, releasing things on quote unquote DM's Guild if it sticks around, those would still be perfectly fine from what they've stated. But I have the feeling that whatever changes they make to the OGL, whether they've made it currently or whether they make it coming up, I wouldn't be surprised if they put in something to try and hammer places like Roll20, uh, Foundry, anything that is not D&D, D&D Beyond.
right, because they are releasing their own VTT, even though it is a 3D VTT, which is probably not the right direction I would take if I was them.
Yeah, but it's the way they're heading. So they
Yeah.
think everything's going to be online. There's a whole other discussion we're going to have here shortly about all of that.
So, so there was a post about the OGL. It's like basically they want to state that there was going to be an OGL release for one D&D. They're going to basically release version 1.1 of the fifth edition, uh, the fifth edition OGL, which is
Mhm.
1.0. And the the fan content, the Wizards of the Coast fan content policy is still in effect. That is, like if you create something for DM's Guild and you want to use pictures, then you can still use some pictures within certain ranges. And there's a bunch of free photos out there. If you want to use a photo to promote something like Dritz or something like that, you can, as long as you're not making profit off of it, and that legal gray area.
Yeah. Yep.
The photos that you can use to make profit off of are very clearly outlined on DM's Guild. But like I use a bunch of images from like Magic cards and stuff for the streams. Like when I was running the L campaign, I used a bunch of Strixhaven images. You can do that on a stream,
Yeah.
and the fan content policy allows you to do that.
But you're also not, that's not releasing something
Right.
for sale. That's,
They are now defining though that if you are releasing a product that is using the 5e OGL and you make more than 50,000 a year off of that product in revenue, they now get a bigger cut of the product. I
of
think it's like
course.
1%.
Okay.
Sorry.
Honestly,
Sorry. Sorry, my mistake. If you make 50,000 or more in a year, you have to report that to them. If you make more than 750,000 a year, there's going to be a royalty starting that they're going to start collecting from you in 2024. Now, before you make a comment, um, right now there's no royalties at all for the system for using the OGL. There are
Okay.
about 20 creators worldwide that would apply to. Okay, so or boards made over $1 million with their product, Wizards would get their cut in 2024. It wouldn't get for the ones that just came out, but it would happen to get in 2024.
Yeah, Jeff
Um,
Ashworth has probably made more than that.
um, but he writes the books. That's different.
I mean,
This is actually using the system itself.
no, they're fifth edition. Like they've got stats in them that are fifth edition stats.
I mean, I'm not sure how it works for like that kind of books, but this is more for like if you're writing a D&D adventure.
Right.
I don't think a book of traps may count. I don't know. So before you comment about the fact that they're taking a royalty,
Hmm.
it does suck that they are doing that now, but it's not uncommon.
I,
So
I'm not
the
even
Epic,
opposed to it.
the Unreal Engine, which is pretty much the one engine that kind of makes most video games out there currently, which is owned by Epic. Okay, they take 1% after you start getting $1 million. When you make $1 million in a year, they take 1%.
Yeah. Oh no,
Yeah,
you have to pay them 10 grand because you made $1 million.
right. But like if you look at you know a couple of games out there that use the Unreal Engine that make the billions, it's quite a lot, and it's free money. But if you don't make that much, you can still use the Unreal Engine to create stuff as much as you want for as long as you need to, and you only have to start reporting. I think once you pass like 50,000 or 100,000 a year that you're making money. Um, so the OGL isn't going away. They are changing some things, and they did state this. I'm going to try to read the exact verbiage that they use. Uh, do, 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 do. There was a question in the post that says, "Will this affect the D&D content and services players use today?" It shouldn't. The top VTT platforms already have custom agreements with Wizards to do what they do. D&D merchandise like minis and novels were never intended to be a part of the OGL, and OGL 1.1 won't change that. Creators wishing to leverage D&D for those forms of expression will need, as they always have needed, custom agreements with us. So in Jeff Asper's case, that answers that question.
Yeah,
It's a novel. It probably doesn't count. He probably has a custom agreement with them. Now
probably so.
the top VTT platforms already having custom agreements, that may not change. So Roll 20, Foundry, there's a couple others out there, may not change. It depends on what their agreement is. But they could very well just start leveraging them harder to basically push them out of the market. I mean,
I,
it's
I
possible. I don't think so.
I have the feeling they will probably try to do that. Either if they're not going to try to push them out, they're almost certainly at some point going to just try to make more money out of them.
I mean, that may be the case. Um, but like, what are you gonna get blood from a stone from Foundry? I mean, they charge basically nothing. They just have a platform that you run from.
I know Roll 20 same way. Like Roll 20 works
Roll 20 is
perfect.
very different. Roll 20 actually has the content that they sell.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They
Yeah.
have their own little stuff that they sell that's related to it. But it still runs perfectly fine
Yeah.
without any of that.
So it depends, it depends on what the customer agreement says. Like Foundry, since they don't sell anything that's D&D related, they have a compendium, which I think is the basic rules already imported in.
Mhm.
But if they have an issue over that, which is something free that they give out, then they can just rip that out of Foundry and just be done with it. You know,
Yeah.
I do know that DM's Guild just partnered with um, Roll20, and they're partnered with the other one that's out there that begins with an fantasy. What is the other VT?
Fantasy grounds.
Fantasy Grounds, yeah. Though, so Fantasy Grounds and Roll20 have agreements with DM's Guild on releasing products for them. So those two definitely have some kind of custom agreement in there, or whatever it is. That may change or alter some, but overall, it looks like the OGL isn't changing too drastically. Um, if the VTT that they're going to run through, the rumoredly going to run through D&D Beyond, actually gets off the ground and works well, it's really just going to be a matter of whoever has the better system, an easier system, people are going to flock to that.
Well,
And
there's
as much as I like the 3D tabletops, I don't think anyone's going to go to a 3D system.
I think there are people who will. Uh,
No, there are many people right now who use a 3D system, but there are also 3D modelers as a profession.
yeah.
So either you can go and buy the prefab 3D kits with some Hero Forge integration. But there's one out there already that does that. I'll have to look up what it is, but I'm not a 3D modeler. It already takes me years to make a map and incarnate and then to put it on Foundry. I'm not going to spend even more time making a 3D town. That's way too much work.
Well, no, you have to realize we're talking about D&D Beyond being 3D. And at some point it's going to be super simplified. Like initially it probably going to be kind of slow and clunky like you're talking about. Give it enough time and people are going to be able to throw stuff together very quickly. Like possibly even just randomly generate an area. Yeah, like that is the long-term goal of something like this.
I mean, you could technically do that now with 2 minute tabletop for 2D stuff. And I guess it would be possible for 3D stuff, but it takes a lot of computing power for that.
It does that. That is true, yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
that's a lot of stuff. That's a big, heavy monthly subscription.
yeah. Like yeah. We'll just have to wait and kind of see how the thing plays out. Like I understand what they have the long-term plan. The long-term plans take a while. They are going to end up spending a lot of money trying to get this damn thing off the ground, and hopefully it doesn't bankrupt them in the process. They're also expecting the thing I've seen going around a hell of a lot lately over the past month online is the sort of the people who are playing online as opposed to the people who are not playing online. And WotC's primary focus, they think all the money is going to be online play going forward, which is why they're diving so heavily into this D&D Beyond thing.
Yeah.
And the simple truth is, you're going to have a portion of the players who are online players who are willing to dive into that. But then you also have, like we've talked about, Roll20 and all these other ones where if D&D Beyond is not everything that these people want, they're just going to stick with what they're already using. Then there's the players like me who this will not affect at all. I don't care what they do with their online stuff. It has no bearing on myself, any of the people I currently play with, and a whole buttload of other players.
Right. I get that, and I understand that, but you know, the newer generation is more online focused. Streaming
They
is
are. Yep.
a big thing now.
Yes.
So the other one I was thinking of was Tailspire, and I posted
Okay.
that in
Yeah. Yep.
the Discord chat. Um, Tailspire is a 3D environment world, and you can buy kits of pre-made, prefab areas, and it's it's freaking amazing to look
Yeah,
at.
and
It's
that's what I was saying. That's what
beautiful.
I was talking about. Like it's already
Yeah.
pre-made stuff like that, and you can be absolutely certain that D&D Beyond will end up with that.
Yeah. So it's like honestly, like if I was watching, I'd just buy Tailspire and just move forward with that. Like I would cut honestly, I would cut them a check because they already got the engine built, they already got everything working, they already got the Hero Forge integration. um, and just move forward that way. And it looks so good, and it's only $20 to get it.
That's
I'm not sure if
pretty
everyone
cheap.
has to
Yeah,
buy $20, but
it is. I mean, yeah, you everybody would probably have to chip in $20 to get it, get it downloaded on Steam. But then, do you have to do? Are there microtransactions to get everything? That's the question.
yeah, yeah, all the content packs cost money,
Right. So they're
I
continuously
believe.
making money every time you want something. Oh, I want some new dice. Bam, $10. Oh, I want this new map area. $20. Oh, I need some monster minis. Here's some more money. Like
Yeah,
that is sort of the goal. That's obviously the goal of D&D Beyond. Tailspire has already got the lead on them, but one of them is an official D&D thing, and the other is not.
yeah. Like I said, I'm pretty sure you can. They're releasing a bunch of kits right now, just for free. I don't actually see any microtransactions for on it. There might be. I'm not sure. But
Well, it
yeah,
might be.
definitely.
Yeah, it might be. Not not microtransactions, but under DLC for Tailspire, there's probably a bunch of that.
I don't see
Uh,
DLC.
Really? I mean, hey,
Mm,
maybe maybe it's the best thing ever. Maybe it's just you spend $20 and everything else is free.
yeah,
Tailspire. Yeah, I don't see any DLC for it. That's surprising. Huh.
yeah. But knowing WotC, they were already headed towards a good VTT back and forth edition and everything, and it's all on belly up. So we'll see.
Yep. Thus the I guess making everything into sort of board game rules make that a lot easier to manage too. Because
Yeah.
yeah, fourth edition was effectively it was board game, yeah, in D&D fashion, and 5e they just reskinned fourth edition. I mean, they did. Let's be honest, but it was marketed better, and it was just kind of cleaner, I think.
We changed a little four to a little five. Now you buy it.
Yep.
Yay! We took away the five, and now it's a one. Boo!
Yep. Uh,
Ah,
all of that, like now that we're on the topic of they've reskinned fourth edition, and 5e was a lot. It was a hell of a lot of fun for a while because it was all fresh and new to myself and my players and everything. But we've been at it. How long's the game been out? 6 years, 7 years? Some
it would be 2 years old tomorrow.
what? Fifth edition?
Yeah.
It's way more than 2 years old.
Nope. 2 years old exactly.
Okay, okay, yeah. So you don't know. That's what it's been out 6 or 7 years at this point, and that entire 6 and 7 years, we continuously are waiting. And I am talking specifically for my play group, but I know there's a lot of other people who feel the same way. We continuously wait and wait and wait for them to release a book that we give a shit about. The last book that I actively cared about was Tasha's, which was over 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
It was roughly 2 years ago. That was the last book I cared about. I did pick up Fizz Bands, which was not very useful. To be honest, because I don't run a lot of dragon stuff. So all of that, and then having Bruce on last week has got me to looking into Pathfinder. He was kind
No.
enough to send me the second edition core rulebook, and I've been diving through this thing hardcore, and I'm sold. I am absolutely sold on Pathfinder. So good luck, Dungeons and Dragons. I will still keep up with what's going on there, obviously, because it is the big, yeah, it's the big role playing game. And honestly, it's a lot of our podcast. But at some point this year, I will start running Pathfinder probably exclusively.
What happened to Advanced 5e?
I like Advanced 5e. It's pretty cool. The difference is I have the Pathfinder book sitting here in front of me. I don't actually have the Advanced 5e book in front of me.
Why would you spend that much money on the PDFs and not buy the book?
Because the book at the time I paid for what I could afford.
Hmm.
So, I believe me, I wish I had gotten the books, but I unfortunately only ended up with the PDFs because the PDFs I think were $80 and the book was like double that. That was would have been more than that. I think it was like 2 it was like 2 to $300 to get all the books. But anyway, Pathfinder, I'm going to go over some of the things that I do like about Pathfinder, and we can talk about some of the things I don't. And I was very meticulous when I was sort of writing out this list because I'm not trying to oversell this thing. It is very much akin to 3rd edition D&D. So if somebody has played 3rd edition and it wasn't their jam, they're probably not going to care for Pathfinder. Me, I loved 3rd edition. Spent a long time playing it. Let's see. So there, some of the things that I've seen that I came across. One of them I thought was kind of a neat idea. Doesn't really
Mhm.
affect gameplay too much, but leveling up. So a lot of people these days they just run milestone. You level up, you just get a level. For people who run XP for D&D, I don't know what the numbers are anymore. It's you level up after 2,500 XP or something like that. Pathfinder, they kind of just simplified it. You just every 1,000 XP you get, you just level up, or you actually spend 1,000 XP to level up, which is kind of
Alright.
a different take on how leveling is done. Because normally you look at a D&D character sheet who's got experience. Oh, you got 12,000 XP on here. You're whatever level it is. But in this case, you just I'll subtract 1,000 XP to gain a level. Which leads me to the thought that, and I didn't see it in Pathfinder, but they could do that, is actually being able to spend XP to do other things. Spend 500, buy a feat, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I got on that. I'm guessing you don't have any real thoughts on it.
I mean, all I hear is, "I'm a traitor to the cause." That's all I heard.
No,
I mean, I guess it comes down to just, like, if you like the system and you like 3rd edition, then that's fine.
it's
Um
it's a way more in-depth system. Like I really like 5e because 5e is simple and clean, but
Mhm.
it's beginners role play by comparison to Pathfinder. At least the system is. Understand?
If your role play is number crunching, then yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Like
But that's not role play. That's number crunching.
I am aware. I like the crunchy aspect of systems. I always have. Most of my players do as well. This is more of that. Whereas Dungeons and Dragons, the 5th edition version of Dungeons and Dragons at this point, it's basic D&D, man. Like it's so clean, it's so just neutered,
Mhm.
and there's nothing being released, there's nothing coming out.
I think that's the bigger issue, I think, for all of us,
It
is
is.
that the Advanced 5e was exactly what people wanted,
Yeah.
and that's was a more advanced 5th edition, and it worked out really well. Um, some of our friends have all moved over to Advanced 5e and are playing it, and it's working out fabulously.
Yeah.
Uh,
The only problem I have with advanced 5e, the advancements in 5e are primarily for just player characters.
well, I
Uh,
mean, there, did you go through the monster manual? 'Cause
I've
they changed a lot too.
I absolutely have gone through the monster manual, and
They changed
yes,
a lot there too.
yeah, they did. It's prime. That's why I said primarily it's character stuff. It's not DM stuff. And I say that in as sort of a generalization because there are a lot of cool magic items that are not in standard 5th edition, but the rules themselves are still very kind of basic.
Yeah, and that's true. And I don't think one D&D is fixing that at all. They're
No,
not
they're
making a
not.
system that is even. They're making systems even more simplified and more streamlined, and I
Yeah,
think that's going to be the biggest downfall of that system.
yeah. To players like myself, that's the opposite direction that I want to go.
Mm.
Uh, so one thing, and And when Bruce listens to anything I'm talking about here on Pathfinder, I'm sure he's going to have a shit fit because I'm certain I'm going to get stuff wrong. So, Bruce, just take it with a grain of salt. This is for me briefly reading through this book.
I like how he sends you the Pathfinder book to convert you, and doesn't send anything to me. He
Well,
knows that it's
he knows it's a
yeah,
lost cause because you
it's a
only
lost
played D
cause.
and D.
Well, I tried. I tried playing 3.5. It sucked. It's
No,
horrible.
well, you played once under a terrible DM.
Well, I mean,
One thing that I do really, really, really like about Pathfinder is actions. All right, so in Dungeons and Dragons, you have basically an attack action,
hmm
a bonus action, a move action, and
hmm
then there's reactions and free actions, and that's it.
yeah,
And they don't. That's actually not too far from Pathfinder as well. There's a huge list of actions, but the majority of them are standard stuff like that. But they just give you three actions that you can take on your turn. So if you want to move twice, you just use two actions. If you want to make an attack, if you want to do three attacks, you use three actions. So think of it, yeah, like you just have these actions that you can do with what you want. There's no bonus. There's none of that. They now that being said, they still have free and reactions. They didn't get rid of those. But reactions, there are triggering effects for them. Free actions, there's very specific things like drawing a sword and so forth. But I really love the idea of you can just do whatever you want with your three actions in whatever manner you want to.
yeah. And it's weird because you say like this is like the that's the benefit to the system, and that's why you like it. You know the Taking 20 guy on YouTube.
I do not.
I've talked about him a few times, and
I've heard you mention him. Yeah.
yeah, he actually posted a video. I think it was yeah, it was 2 years ago now. Well, he quit playing Pathfinder 2e,
hmm
and it's for the exact reason you said you're playing it.
That is not the exact reason I'm playing it. That's just something I like about it over D&D.
So
I'm primarily looking through this book. It's character character wise. It's a buttload of feats, and I love feats. There are feats for everything. There are feats for skills. There are feats for races. There are feats for classes.
yeah,
And that's a huge selling point to me because that allows you to build your character differently from everybody else.
yeah, but you always fall into the same problem. Like, oh, these are the feats that are the best. I mean,
Yeah,
that's not like against Pathfinder. I'm just saying.
yeah, you will have that. There are always going to be some feats that are garbage and some that are better than others, but they give you access to so many of them that you're not going to have a this is the best all the time.
This is the best.
Like there's a website that I found called pathbuilder2e.com that lets you
Yeah.
actually create characters and build them out through the levels, which gives you a chance to kind of see how you would build them. And I'm just sort of randomly going through building a bard, and I can just through running through this website, I can see how this bard is going to be very, very different from most other bards.
Hey, quick question for you about a
Sure.
bard. All
All
right.
right. Bards suck, but go ahead.
I want to play a bard, but I only want to do paintings,
Sure.
no music.
That might be possible.
Like instead of like
In D
singing
and
a
D,
song,
in
I
D and
just
D, it is not possible. But
I
you
just
could
paint a mystic thing in the weave.
in D&D, it's definitely not possible because of I'd have to pull up the specifics of it, but it's effectively you have to be able to. It's all vocal. Um, it's vocal inspiration. Whereas in Pathfinder, there are other methods that are not vocally done. Like you can dance to give inspiration. Painting, maybe I'd have to really dig into it. I'm sure Bruce could tell us offhand, but he's
Dancing,
not.
give me inspiration, Jay.
Oh no, you don't want me dancing to give you inspiration. That's anything but inspiring.
Oh, vomit inducing.
Yeah, it's much more vomit inducing. That would be more of a fear effect.
Well, I guess it works then.
One other thing that I've come across in Pathfinder that I'm also a really big fan of is the crits. First off, it's not a you always crit on 20s and crit fail on ones. It is if you roll a 20, it's probably a crit. If you roll a one, it's probably a crit fail. But it's also if your roll is 10 points above whatever the DC is, that is also a crit. And vice versa. If you are 10 below what the DC was, that's a crit failure. And they actually have things that happen when you crit fail and crit succeed.
Hmm.
So I like skill checks. They have crit successes that'll have things that'll happen. Spells they have critical successes. Attacks, I think attacks just primarily you double damage like always, but like that's something that's kind of always it's very weak in fifth edition, and the fact that crit failures don't matter at all is kind of just boring. But it also allows you to have a lot of feats within this system where if you take them and you fail doing this, yeah, okay, say you took a feat that gives you, something in Arcana, and then you roll a crit failure for the Arcana. This feat might also have an additive of you cannot crit fail; you only get a normal failure.
Eh, I mean, I have to see how it plays out, but it just seems needlessly complex.
It's more complex for sure. You're still, D&D is a simple system. Uh,
No,
Pathfinder, yeah, Pathfinder is not, and I don't want it to be.
no, because I remember that we had that issue a lot during the Star Wars games where people were just succeeding so obscenely high so many times, and it was just like massive successes here and
There
there,
was
and
there was one big problem with that from the time that I played it though, is the fact that you were allowed to stack all these bonuses. Like
yeah,
I could do this little spell and then somebody else could do this little ability and then somebody else could do the spell just so we can make I don't know, a nature check or some shit like that. And when you start stacking six types of bonuses on top of that, that's a problem.
yeah.
Pathfinder does not seem to have that.
I mean, as long as you're not punishing martial classes for making multiple attacks, which I know is a thing in Pathfinder.
Um,
It sounds like they're not with the you have to get 10 lower than the DC, but I
yeah.
guess it could still happen.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know. I haven't seen anything specifically on a martial class just doing a basic attack. I don't think a crit fail does anything except just miss.
Maybe.
That's what I've that's what it looks like. There's a big ass book and I still have a lot to dive through. Until I run this game, I won't know everything.
Yeah.
I do know that multi-attacking, the first attack, there's no negatives. The second attack is -5 to hit. The third attack would be -10 to hit. And what you're talking about, if that -10 puts you 10 below the target AC, making that a crit failure. If there are heavy penalties for crit fails, that's a problem.
Yeah. But like I said, it definitely sounds like a very different system. But like I said, I don't want needless complication for the sense of needless complication.
Yeah. Look,
Um,
it's not it's not your bag. It's not
because
what you're looking
because number crunching and having people to spend 15 minutes to figure out what they rolled and figure out how they rolled and how effective they rolled.
Well,
Just
that shouldn't be that hard.
that's also the downside of like the Fortune Destiny system. I love that system, but every turn took forever as you kind of went through this all these charts of like, okay, well, I got this advantage and that advantage, and I got this many successes versus that many failures. I don't know, it's a very different system, but
That's a very different system, yeah.
it 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 just took forever to go through one round of combat, and that's kind of what I fear with
The
when
simple
you're
of
just
the simple of
when
this is though it's just D&D. Like I roll a D20, okay, I'm swinging at an armor class of 20. Did I hit? Oh, I have a +6 to hit. I rolled a 10, a 16. No, I missed. Or whatever. It's like figuring that out is not complicated.
No, but you're adding in like, okay, I have 3 attacks. Okay, what can I or 3 actions. What do I do? Okay, well, I don't have to move, so it means I can attack 3 times. I'm gonna attack 3 times.
Yep.
Alright, I rolled an 18. Does that hit, miss, or crit?
Yeah.
That hits.
Depending on the
Okay.
AC.
Alright. I'm gonna attack again. Alright, now I rolled a 19. Does that hit, miss, or crit? Hold on, let me check.
Not
Alright, yeah,
hard.
they just hit again. Alright, and do it again. Okay, now I rolled a 20. Alright, does that hit, miss, or crit? Okay, that actually crits. Alright. Now I do a crit. Mm, Now this is what I do when a crit. Hold on, let me get my table. Alright.
Well, there's no table. Like
It
once again,
says I disarm the opponent. Alright, now they're disarmed. Now remember that sword is disarmed. I
y-
forgot.
yeah. So you see, you're adding in stuff that's not in there. If you crit on attack, you just crit on an attack.
No, you said there were crit so things that happen on crit successes and things that happen on
Once
crit
again,
failures.
once again, I'm talking primarily for skills and spells.
Well, then it's boring to play a martial class then.
A martial class, you're gonna well, a martial class is gonna have a lot of other feats. So maybe you do have. I have not I haven't dove through the different martial classes and the feats that they get specifically. Like I've looked at a lot of the general feats and the bard ones, since that's the character I was just messing around with. But it's a massive book with a lot of stuff, man. I'm not gonna go through all of this.
What else are you doing?
Working, uh, reading BattleTech, trying to figure out how to play that game.
Well, stop playing reading BattleTech. You still have to read through Dune and play that.
I know. I still have so many games and not enough free time. It's awful. There were two other things that I wanted, three other things, one of 'em brief that I wanted to talk about with the Pathfinder thing. They actually have really solid invisibility rules, and
Okay.
I know I've bitched about the invisibility rules in D&D a lot. Uh, One of the things in this that you can do is to take an action to basically view an area, trying to locate somebody who's invisible.
A perception check.
Basically, yes, you can make the perception check. If you succeed in said perception check, the target becomes hidden and not undetected. And those are two completely different statuses.
Okay.
Undetected is a thing of that's the full invisibility. You got no goddamn clue where anybody is at. You know, they're invisible and they're somewhere. And the other one, the hidden, is you actually know what square that person is in. Doesn't mean they're easier to, necessarily easy to hit, because they're going to have huge modifiers to their armor class because they're invisible, but it actually tells you this is where they are currently at. And I personally, I love that. That is a, because D&D does not actually have rules for how to find somebody who's fucking invisible.
Okay.
All right. I love you. I love your thoughts on this stuff.
Well, I'm just again that is just needlessly complicated for me. I was googling what the Webster term for hidden was, and it means to be concealed. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And then what is undetected, not observed, or concealed? It's the same thing. You've taken hidden, and now you've added another term for hidden, and added mechanics to both of those things when you didn't need it. He's hidden.
There's undetected and hidden. Undetected is you haven't got a goddamn clue where they're at. Hidden is you know what square they're in.
No, you shouldn't even know what square they're in if they're hidden. They're hidden.
Okay, okay, you're just worried about the word hidden. Come on. It's a status. It's a status, man. That's all it is. It means that the person who succeeded on the perception check knows the square that they are in.
Okay.
That's it. That's what hidden means.
Okay. And then so what are the rules for attacking a
I would, I,
invisible person?
I would have to look those up. They probably just have a huge modifier to their armor class or something like that.
Well, because like there was that thing we talked about with the flanking and stuff. How
Yeah.
like yeah. So I thought you were gonna bring all that up again. It's not.
You worry too much about this stuff. I like the number crunching. I like the rules for it. So.
It's just 2 rules for being hidden.
Yeah, but what? Explain to me how finding some. How do you find anyone invisible in D&D? Explain it. Go.
You can't. They're hidden.
All right, cool. So as long as they cast greater invisibility, they are pretty much invulnerable. You can't ever find them.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a fucking terrible rule, and I hate it.
you have to play a lot of strategic. You got to use strategery to get around it. I don't know, cast. I don't know. Wait for someone to get hit by an attack, and then cast fairy fire on that square they
How?
got attacked from.
What if they get hit and then that person moves?
Well, that's what the reaction's for. Because when they get hit, you cast fairy fire on that square.
And if they make the saving throw, well, you're still fucked up. You only had one fairy fire memorized, or one, the ability to cast it once. Sucks to
But
be you.
yes, if my players are fighting something and only have one spell slot for fairy fire, and they have greater, and they're fighting something with greater invisibility, they're dead.
Yeah.
There wasn't a fight to begin with because they're level 3, and this thing's chucking around greater invisibility. What, a 7th level spell? 6th level spell? Yeah, they're dead.
Well,
They
no,
didn't need greater invisibility.
maybe they have 6 level spells and they've burned through all their slots since you get like 4 spell slots
Then
total.
you then you run. Then
Yeah,
you
well,
run and hide away.
it's a bad way to run that. I've always hated invisibility in 5e.
I mean,
Anyway,
listen. Invisibility is broke. Okay, a team of elite commandos firing hundreds upon thousands of rounds into the area in which the invisible creature was, and they barely nicked it. Okay, that is the bar for being invisible and trying to hit something invisible. If Schwarzenegger couldn't hit an invisible creature, why do you think you can? Explain to me how your character is. You can
I
convince
don't
me
have
of
time to
that.
bleed. I don't have time
If
to
you
bleed. That's
can convince me that your shitty character is better than Dutch, then you can attack this invisible creature and hit it.
let's move on. We could go about this all day, especially if once we start entering with predator references. So it's gone off the rails. I mentioned this one to you the other day about the raise the shield action. And I personally am a fan of this. I can understand why you or some other people would not be. And so raise the shield action is what it says. You spend an action to actually use your shield.
Mm-hmm.
If you want that +2 bonus, or if it's magical shield, the +4 bonus to your armor class that it's going to give you, or whatever, you have to burn an action to actually utilize it. I am personally a fan of that, specifically because this game it's a resource management game. It's a strategy game. So if I know realistically, it doesn't require much to actually use a shield. As
Well,
you used them at LARPs, I've used them at LARPs. It's not really that
it
complex.
it depends on the shield. The problem with the shield mechanic in 5th edition is that there's just shield. There's
Yeah,
no bucklers,
it's just
there's
you
no
get
round
+2.
shields,
Yeah,
there's no
yeah. This,
kite shields, there's no tower shields.
yep.
All that shit should matter, and you need a whole set of mechanics for it, but they just went, fuck it, shield.
Yeah,
That's it,
you just
+2,
get
pass.
+2 armor class. That's the end of it. It doesn't matter if somebody's behind you or whatever.
So I'm interested in, like, okay, we use our shield defensively, and you take one of your actions and use it defensively, but you should still get something for just having it be equipped.
Correct.
Okay, having nothing is stupid.
Yeah,
But giving you even more AC if you're being defensive with it is just taking the dodge action. But
yeah.
and I guess in the Pathfinder, if you're using one of your actions to be defensive with your shield, you should get extra AC for that. You should be able to do things like shield bashing and pummeling and knocking
Yeah,
people down,
they have a lot of that in this. Yeah, shield bashing is definitely a thing.
and then like you should be able to shield bash with a tower shield, a kite shield, round shield. You shouldn't be able to shield bash with a buckler, but you should be able to at least attack. I just saw a video within the last week of the Armored Combat League. It was a championship match.
Mhm.
Okay, It's like MMA,
Yeah, I've
but
seen it. I
everyone
know
is
what it.
fully armored with swords, and most of them you all use bucklers. And they get in there and they're just whacking away at stuff. They're wearing full plate, so you can hit someone with this blunted sword all day, and it's not going to affect them. So they're
Yep.
doing a lot of punching with the shield, a lot of shield punches, a lot of rim hits, and eventually the guy grabs his opponent's arm with the sword arm underneath his arm and headbutts him. Okay, and and the guy reels back with it, but counters with him by throwing the guy that did the headbutt to the ground. Okay,
All
so
right.
now his arm is still pinned. Okay, under a guy he just knocked to the ground, but he's still standing, but just bent over. The other guy's on his back. So
Yeah.
then he just takes a shield and he just starts wailing on his helmet with the shield. Puts this massive dent into it. The ref immediately stops the competition, runs over to the guy and checks to see if he's all right. The dude is just KO'd.
Yeah. He,
So like that shield combat should be a thing in 5th edition. It's not. If they have anything like that in Pathfinder, I don't know, I may be sold. But that needs to be in these damn
yeah,
games.
I agree. And they do have shield combat. You can build a character who is specifically designed to whip ass with a shield. So
But I don't want like Samurai Jack levels of dual tower shields, dual Spartan shield
yeah, that may be a bit
attack
much.
and uh,
But yeah, like I like the raise the shield action, like you were talking about. I personally think that I don't know if you have a shield, maybe not a buckler, but a standard shield, medium shield or larger, you should at least get a +1 to the armor class, even if you're not actively using it.
yeah.
Just to, yeah, I mean you got the damn thing strapped onto your arm. It's gonna block something. Uh,
Yeah.
the last thing that I briefly wanted to talk about was they actually have a very, very good magic item and just general crafting system, which is something that is pretty much non-existent in 5e. And I'm not even gonna go over all the details of it because it's a very in-depth system, but I personally am just glad they got it.
Yeah, they don't I think we can sum up Fit 5e by what you said earlier is that it's a system that we're waiting for all the advanced books to come out for.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, if they started releasing like advanced books for it, yeah, like it I mean the advanced 5e's out there and I am a fan of that. They had some good stuff. I haven't seen they are still releasing stuff. They've got the little it's like a little dragon magazine thing that they're releasing every month for advanced 5e, but I still haven't seen the massive upgrades, the stuff that I really want to see out of it because it is still 5e as a system. It's just a lot more. It's not more complex of a system. It's just more stuff, which is what I want out of 5e. And they both need better crafting systems.
Yep.
But at least advanced 5e has a crafting system, unlike basic 5e. But anyway,
Let's sigh.
yep. So anything else you wanted to go over before we wrap this thing up?
Oh my god, Loeb, no!
Well, all right then. Hey, before we leave, I found out there is a rare version of He-Man, the toy, that came out in the 80s.
Okay.
It's called Savage He-Man, otherwise known as Wonder Bread He-Man.
Okay.
I, I I never knew this thing existed. It's just He-Man with like a brown hair, a black belt, and some other weapons that came out. But apparently, there was this rumor that had gone around for years that it was a Wonder Bread promo, and turns out that it actually wasn't. I had to really do some digging to find out the actual story of how the hell this thing even came to be.
Yeah.
But it was just some. It was a promotional. It was a buy three get one free offer that they had back in like 1983.
Okay.
That's it.
for Wonder Bread.
No, not for Wonder Bread. Just a Mattel thing.
Yeah.
But
Well,
for like 20 years, people have been calling this thing the Wonder Bread He-Man.
hmm,
But did you ever watch the new cartoon?
yeah.
Yeah, I think the savage version of He-Man that meets in that other world. That's who this is. They actually made him a part of the lore. I think they call him
Well,
one. They call him Wondar.
because I know there was a Savage He-Man in the new show
Yeah.
when Adam called upon the power without the sword to hone it, and that created a kind of the long-haired barbarian He-Man that just wrecked house.
Yep.
Which is really cool. But yeah, Wondar is a weird figure.
Anyway, I just wanted to share that with anybody who's listening.
Ugh. All right, I'm done.
Yep. All right, we're out of here. Thanks for listening. Happy New Year, everybody. Bye, Craig.
Bye, Craig.